You think you have time. You think 50 is the new 30, or 60 is the new 40, or whatever nonsense they are selling you on the internet now. You think because you feel relatively strong, because your mind is sharp, and because your career has finally settled into something manageable, that you have decades stretching out ahead of you like a lazy Sunday afternoon. You do not. I am 89 years old. I have been alive since Franklin Roosevelt was president. I have buried my wife. I have buried my parents. I have buried my brothers and more friends than I can count. And I am sitting here in this chair to tell you that your middle years are not the beginning of a golden vacation. They are your last real chance to prepare for the storm that comes next. And believe me, everything that comes next is harder than you think. I look back at the man I was at 50, at 60. I was confident. I had saved some money. I had plans. I had a wife I loved and children who called regularly. I thought I was prepared. I wasn't. If I could go back in time, if I could walk into the room where my 50-year-old self sat reading the paper, thinking he had the world on a string, I would grab him by the shoulders and I would beg him to stop 3 specific habits. 3 habits that seem harmless when you are strong, but which will leave you broken when you are old. Here is the truth, the unlived truth. The first habit you must stop is the habit of physical arrogance. Stop treating your body like a machine that will just keep running without maintenance. Stop assuming that the strength you have today will be there tomorrow. When I was 62, I could walk 3 miles without thinking about it. I could carry 4 bags of groceries up the stairs. I could get down on the floor to wrestle with my grandsons and get back up again without grabbing the sofa for help. I took all of that for granted because it had always been true. I was a man. I was strong. By 75, walking a mile was a major accomplishment. By 80, I needed to rest halfway up those same stairs. And by 84, a stroke took what was left of my independence. Here's what nobody tells you, and what I wish I had known. The muscle you lose after 60 is almost impossible to get back. The bone density you lose is gone forever. The balance you have naturally right now, it starts requiring conscious, painful effort. I spent my 50s and 60s thinking I could skip the gym because I was busy. I thought walking the dog was enough. I lived in a habit of physical complacency. And because I did not actively fight against the decline, because I did not challenge my body while it could still respond, I have spent my 80s trapped in a body that cannot do what my mind wants it to do. I watch my great-grandchildren run across the yard, and I remember when my legs were that strong. I remember when my back didn't ache. I remember when standing up from a chair was not an athletic event. That man feels like a stranger to me now. If you are 50 or 60 and you can still lift weights, lift them. If you can walk 3 miles, walk 3 miles every single day. Build the fortress now because the siege is coming. Do not wait until your body betrays you, because once the betrayal starts, you cannot reverse it. The second habit makes my heart ache just to speak of. You must stop the habit of passive relationships. Stop thinking your friends will always be there. Stop thinking you have time to fix a grudge. Stop thinking your marriage will last forever just because it has lasted this long. I had a group of guys. We played cards. We knew each other since our 30s. There were 4 of us. We raised our kids together, complained about our bosses together, supported each other through the hard times. I thought those friendships were permanent fixtures, like the stars in the sky. One died of a heart attack at 75. Cancer took the next one at 81. COVID took the last one. I am the only one left. I did not make new friends in my 60s because I thought I had enough. I did not realize the end would come for them so much sooner than it came for me. Now, I am 89. My daughter is wonderful. My grandkids are polite, but it is not the same as having a friend who remembers what you were like at 35. It is not the same as sitting with a man who knew your father or who was at your wedding. The loneliness of outliving everyone who knew you when you were young is a cold room to sit in. But it's not just friends, it's family. I had a brother, Frank. We didn't speak for 8 years. 8 years. Do you know why? It was a stupid fight over our mother's care, over money, over things that seemed so incredibly important at the time. I was convinced I was right. I was a stubborn man, and I waited for an apology I felt I was owed. Frank died of a heart attack at 79. He died while we were still not speaking, and now I will never get to tell him, I am sorry. I will never hear his voice again. I will never get to sit across from him at Thanksgiving and roll my eyes at the same family stories we heard 100 times. 8 years of silence. For what? For pride? For being right? If there is someone you are not speaking to, someone you love who hurt you, or who you hurt, pick up the phone today, not tomorrow, today, because people die. They do not wait for you to be ready. They do not wait for the perfect apology. They just go, and they take your chance with them. And then there is your spouse. My wife and I were married 63 years. That sounds like an eternity, but when I do the math now, it breaks me. The first 20 years we were busy raising kids. The next 15 we were rebuilding our connection. It wasn't until our 50s that we really had a golden time. We had maybe 30 years left, but only 10 of those were healthy. We traveled, we laughed, but then she started slowing down. Then I had my stroke. The last 10 years of our marriage were just managing decline, doctor appointments, medications, the slow narrowing of our world. I wish I had understood in my 50s that the window for adventure was closing. I wish we had taken more trips, stayed out later, said yes to more invitations. I assumed we had unlimited healthy years. You do not. Nobody does. The third habit, and perhaps the most insidious, is the habit of identifying with your utility. Stop thinking that your job, your title, or your role as a provider or fixer is who you are. Stop avoiding the hard conversations about the end because you were too busy being useful. Today, I worked for 38 years. That was my identity. I was the guy who solved problems. I was the guy people came to. I spent my whole career looking forward to retirement, thinking I would finally be free. I retired at 70, and I fell apart. I didn't know who I was without the job. Suddenly, I was just an old man with nothing particular to do and nowhere particular to be. It took me 3 years to find myself again. 3 years of feeling useless and lost. If your job is your whole identity, you are heading for a cliff. You need to build a life outside of work now. Figure out what you love besides your paycheck, because the day you retire, you are going to need something to be. And because I was so focused on being the strong provider, I refused to talk about death. When my mother died, we had no idea what she wanted. No will, no passwords, no instructions. We spent 3 years fighting and guessing. I swore I wouldn't do that to my kids, and yet I almost did. Why? Because talking about death is uncomfortable. It feels morbid. It feels like you are inviting the Grim Reaper into the living room. But death is coming whether you invite it or not. If you do not have the conversations about your will, your money, and your wishes while you are healthy, you are leaving a mess for the people you claim to love. Do not wait until you are sick. Do not wait until there is a crisis. Have the conversation now, and stop trying to fix your adult children. That is part of this habit of utility. I spent my 60s giving my kids advice about their careers and marriages. I thought I had wisdom. They didn't want my wisdom. They wanted a father, not a counselor. Every time I offered unsolicited advice, I was telling them I didn't trust them. It took me years to learn to keep my mouth shut, to listen without solving. Your adult children do not need you to tell them what to do. They need you to love them while they figure it out. I am 89 years old. The last 30 years went faster than the first 60. I blinked and I was 70. I blinked and I was 80. I blinked and my wife was gone. She died 6 years ago, 63 years together, and then she was gone in 45 minutes. A stroke in the plumbing aisle of a hardware store, of all places. I talk to her photograph every night before I sleep. I tell her I miss her. She doesn't answer, but I keep talking anyway. I have outlived almost everyone I have ever loved. So please, listen to this old man. The things I feared, getting old, being alone, being sick, they all happened. And yet, I am still here. I am still me. I still enjoy a cup of coffee. I still laugh at my great-grandson's jokes. The fear didn't save me. It just wasted my time. Don't waste your 50s and 60s the way I wasted parts of mine. Build your body now. Forgive your brother today. Make the friends. Talk to your wife while she can still hear you. And realize that you are not your job. Pay attention to every single day, because it is going faster than you think, and you cannot get any of it back. You still have time, but not as much as you think.